Sydney calls out to the troublemakers, but her shotgun doesn't scare them. However, when Joseph appears on the other side, the trio takes off. The brother suggests they hurry. They go inside the house, which appears to be empty. Joseph immediately notices a large clock. Then the siblings walk through the house, noting the mess and overall neglect. At that moment, they once again hear police sirens. Sydney suggests running, but Joseph points at a door leading to a pantry and announces it's exactly what they've been looking for. He then rushes to the clock on the first floor and starts turning its hands in a particular sequence. Sydney does the same with other clocks, and when they all start chiming, the pair steps into the pantry and closes the door behind them. Thunder rumbles and lightning flashes above the house. Just then, Joseph opens a small notebook and orders his sister to dial a certain number on the antique telephone inside the room, and to hang up right after she says the required words. Outside, they can hear the voices of police officers searching for them. Sydney dials the number and utters a few words, then immediately hangs up. Darkness and silence descend. Sometime later, Joseph opens the door and they step outside. There is no one around. The house is neat and cozy. Everything is in its place, and the clocks have stopped again. Following instructions, Joseph winds the clock in the living room. Sydney can't believe they actually pulled it off, and now they are safe. But Joseph reminds her they must stay there for at least 14 days, which doesn't seem too hard. The fridge is full of food and drinks, and there's a pile of discs on a table to help them pass the time. On the first day, they simply rest. Joseph goes for walks and inspects the grounds, while Sydney takes a bath and tries on old dresses she finds in the closet. On the second day, they cook dinner and spend time chatting on the porch. During the day, they count their loot, planning how and where they'll spend it. Sydney misses her daughter and looks at her photo, but consoles herself that soon all this will be over and they'll be able to live without needing anything. They examine the portraits hanging in the house and practice shooting, at which they both seem to be quite skilled, as they have rifles with scopes. Thus, 13 days go by. One evening, Sydney explains to her brother the value of certain items stored in this strange house. For example, a bullhook is not cheap, but modern people simply don't know what it's for. Suddenly, she switches to talking about their relationship as brother and sister. The man feels he never gave her enough love, and now suffers because of it. But Sydney herself thinks her life hasn't turned out too badly. She does have a daughter, after all. Even so, her brother promises to do everything he can to make it up to her. Sydney then asks about his female friend who provided them with such a magical hideout, but Joseph can't explain who she is or how her house works. He admits that the woman only gave him her notebook out of pity. Suddenly, Sydney remembers their parents. She remembers their mother. Joseph remembers their father. Together, they recall how their mother used to play the piano, but Sydney's strongest memory is of the song she hears on a stereo system disc, though she doesn't know its title. She hums the old tune and then suddenly asks Joseph to take her back to her daughter. Finally, the time comes when they can return home. Sydney tidies up while Joseph packs their bags and burns the remaining trash, but when they approach the pantry door, they find it boarded up. On a plank, words are carved directing them to an old mill nearby. Sydney has a breakdown and runs toward the mill. Her brother catches up and manages to calm her down. They begin examining the place and discover church pews in the basement. Soon, their flashlight beam hits a decomposing body. Carved on a stand is a warning that they are stuck in a time loop, along with an invitation to sign beneath the message if they understand and are willing to comply. Sydney refuses to do this and flees. She's desperate to escape the house, but not far off in the field, she suddenly feels ill. She vomits blood and realizes she cannot leave the perimeter that's holding them. Her brother pulls her back to safety. Sydney comes around, but cannot believe what's happening. She falls into despair and cries, remembering her daughter. Her brother explains that the body at the mill is the very acquaintance who allowed him to hide out there. He recognized her by the clock that had been a family heirloom. The pair wonders if anyone could possibly find them here, but they covered their tracks so well that there is no hope of rescue. Joseph has no choice but to sign the warning, after which a safe appears before them in an instant. Recalling the notebook, he opens it using the numbers written there. Inside is a tape recorder and a note saying he must say something and then close the door to establish a connection. Joseph does as instructed, and a minute later, when he plays back the recorder, he hears a stranger's voice. The stranger says they aren't supposed to be on the farm. He knows about the money, and Sydney offers to give him a share so they can leave. But the recorder goes silent. Joseph believes they're talking to someone in the future. Sydney repeats her brother's steps, opening and closing the safe. The voice comes back, saying it intends to erase all trace of their existence to protect the delicate balance of this place's powers. But Joseph realizes the strangers must want something from them, or else they would have destroyed them along